Welcome into the Cinema 9 podcast. Michael Govier, Travis Roy, Eric Brandstrom. If you love Family Ties, then you're probably not going to like this movie we're doing today. The Squid and the Whale, does it hold up? We're going to find out later on if it does indeed hold up with today's special guest, none other than Brian J. Seymour. He does his own work in many different phases. He does a fantasy baseball podcast that he co-hosts with Matt Williams called Turn 2. If you're into fantasy baseball, definitely recommend it. If you're into gambling, he knows a lot about gambling too. And of course, his newer venture, which is outstanding. It's really, really cool. It's an honest storytelling podcast. So if you're into storytelling, you're looking for people's honest, open, authentic stories to share, then check out What This Means to Me. It's a great podcast. I truly mean it. Welcome in, Brian. We're really glad to have you.
I'm happy to be here, man. Thanks for the shout outs. Almost too many projects to name. I kind of dabble in everything, but yeah, the music podcast is What This Song Means to Me. I think that's probably the most applicable podcast to the listener of this podcast that they'd be interested in that I'm doing. So yeah, check it out on all podcast platforms. Basically, people tell a story about their lives that was highly impactful, set to a song that really changed the way they look at things. So it's cool. Candid stories, and couple of people on this podcast have actually been on it, I believe. So if you would want to check out those episodes, you certainly can do so.
That is correct. Why do you like movies?
Why do I like movies? That's really
the eternal question.
That's a tough one. That is an interesting question, because I've had people actually say to me before in the medium of film that they don't, especially in this day and age, which I'm sure you guys can relate to. Maybe you've had somebody say it to you, but that they can't sit through a movie anymore. Like they have to have something that they kind of passively watch that's more of a, episodic type thing. But I definitely still love the medium. Obviously, I think there's still a place for it, even though, we don't have theaters like we used to and stuff like that. But the reason that I would say that I do is because you can really sink your teeth in and find out usually something about yourself if it's a good film. I think it's kind of about your intent. And my intent whenever I'm watching a movie is, like, even when I'm looking up for recommendations, I'm looking for something that I know is going to really, I want to be Googling and reading about the movie for like 3 days after I watch it. You know what I mean? I don't want to watch something that's just kind of take me for that night. I want to have something that's like a real venture that I can sink my teeth into, read more about, kind of just, get into the soundtrack, get into all the different things over the following days. So yeah, for me, it's all about the intent going in. And I want something that's going to change my perspective, because that's what good art does. Whether it is music or movies or whatever, I want something that's really going to change my life in the coming days, weeks, whatever it may be. So that's what I try to get out of them when I watch them.
No small task at all.
No.
You asked a big question.
Well, I love that comment, Brian, because some of the films that I unfortunately had to dub that they did not hold up they simply didn't resonate with me. Like they were just, I didn't think about them 5 minutes after I just saw them. So for a film to just send you down that rabbit hole of ponderous thought, it means so much, especially right now when there's so many things to get information or entertainment from. But
I do like having thoughtful, ponderous moments from film when it's naturally prompted. But I just as often want to be distracted, and that doesn't mean I want necessarily something on while I'm fucking around with my phone. I mean, sometimes I want that. But sometimes I genuinely just want 2 hours of thinking about something that completely doesn't matter whatsoever. And that's quite nice too.
How do you feel about that, Brian?
Yeah, I think I'm the type of guy that it's maybe this is just a feature, not a bug, but I'm the type of guy who I have intent with every moment, and I feel weird if I'm just killing time. You know what I mean? But I do that sometimes. Yeah, I'll just throw something on in the background, and I'm like,
the same way.
I'm not into this, man. I'm not into this. I'm just killing time on my phone. But yeah, typically though, I'm like, if I'm gonna sit down and watch something, I want it to be, again, just I keep going back to the word intent. I'm really committed to it, and I find it hard like usually what I'll do if I end up in that mode that Travis just said, like if I put something on that I'm just kind of passively looking at, I'll end up finding, like, I'm already on my phone. I find an article I want to read. I pause the movie, and before I know it, the Fire Stick just turns off, and it's not even, the TV's not on anymore. So I'm either like fully locked in or out. And I don't know if you guys have had this experience, but this has always really pissed me off. Whether you're with like a significant other or a buddy or whatever, say you're watching a movie that you mutually picked together, okay, and you're into it. It's like, hey, my phone's down. I put it on silent. Maybe I even turned it off, God forbid. And we're like 20 minutes in, and you just see the other person kind of start looking at their phone. And like the air just leaves the room. I mean, it's just like, I just want to get up and leave. You know what I mean? Like, I'll just go watch this on my own. I hate that.
It's an ongoing problem in my personal relationship. Like if like there's a powerful emotional scene going on and someone cracks a joke, especially someone that is near and dear to me, it's over. Like I'm straight pissed. I'm sorry. And it's led to some volatile arguments. I'm sorry, there's no excuse.
You're talking about the baby here?
You can think a joke. No. But yeah, dude, that kills me, man. Like when in Philadelphia, I once heard someone crack a joke in Philadelphia when Tom Hanks as Andrew Beckett was saying his last words to his beloved Antonio Banderas. I was so fucking pissed.
That's not ideal. Why would someone do that? I don't believe that. No, I believe you. It's just really, really strange. But I respect that. I think somewhere in the middle here, me and Travis are maybe. I don't want to speak for Travis, but
you can speak for me. It's fine.
Yeah, you guys are parents too, so maybe you guys have a different view that we'll never understand because me and Travis are not parents. We can never know your plight. We can never know it.
I can tell you this. I watched a movie with someone else for the first time in fucking, I don't even know how long this week.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I live alone and there's a pandemic, so there hasn't been a lot of that. And this person, friend of the show, Stephen Floyd Laskowski. Hi, Steve. Is an ideal fellow movie watching companion, but for the most part, I like watching movies alone. I like going to the movies alone. I like not having to deal with anyone else around me while I'm absorbing this media. That's it's just shut the people out of your life. Just put a screen in front of your face and bliss. This is the Travis Roy recipe.
One of the benefits of being on a podcast with like two of your like closest friends, if you know them for like goddamn near 25 years, is you pretty much have a good handle on what they will like, what their tastes are, what they probably won't be into. So like what are a few of like your all-time favorites, Brian? Just so I know what we're getting into here when it comes to a monumental work like The Squid and the Whale.
It's funny because I think this film is kind of a departure of the stuff that I am typically into. I just thought it would be like super interesting for this podcast. And frankly, it's my sister and I's movie. And maybe that makes a lot of sense because it is, obviously about siblings and parents and the complications of family and stuff. But her and we almost have like an annual watch of this, like around the holidays when she comes home. But as far, just a nice little get together to watch The Squid and the Whale. But my favorite movies of all time. I think I mentioned to one of you guys anyway. Taxi Driver might be my favorite film of all time. I'm just a huge fan of that specific movie. Obviously, I love Robert De Niro. Obviously, I love Martin Scorsese and a lot of the stuff that he's done. But I grew up like a very introverted, angry, lonely dude with like a low self-esteem. A lot of the Travis Bickle stuff was within me. So like the writing of Paul Schrader, which has kind of led me to check out some other Paul Schrader flicks. Matter of fact,
never heard of him. We talk about that every episode.
I just checked out. I had not seen that newer movie with Ethan Hawke, the religious one.
Oh, First Reformed? We've heard of that also.
Oh my God.
Brian, dude, you don't know the story? The story here. Travis bought all of us. He sent me and Eric copies of First Reformed, that movie, as a Christmas gift last year. He sent us actual DVDs because we talked about that movie so much. We talked about Paul Schrader so much on this show. It's a running gag. So
okay.
Yeah,
Awesome.
we've mentioned them. It's admittedly been a few episodes, but there was a run there, like a 30 episode run where First Reform probably got brought up every fucking episode.
Dude, it is so good. I loved it so much. But yeah, like Taxi Driver, just so much of that resonated with me. But then I also have a penchant for like just kind of that really super dreamlike, weird avant-garde stuff. David Lynch and everything that he's done is some of my favorite stuff of all time. I love Twin Peaks, the original. It's been hard for me to watch some of the newer stuff. Those are complicated watches, but like all of his movies. Lost Highway may be my favorite. Mulholland Drive is also way up there. But I just love that.
Thank you. So, Lost Highway does not get enough love. Everyone talks about Mulholland Drive. No one talks about Lost Highway.
Dude, yeah, I couldn't agree more. I really, really loved it. And just the scenes that he paints. I mean, like, I am a horror movie guy. I like good horror movies. But to me, some of the moments that David Lynch has created is some of the scariest shit that I have ever seen. Like just the way that he does it, it just creeps up on you and it's so subtle and it just freaks the hell out of me. So I love David Lynch too. That's some of my favorite stuff, I would say.
What is good horror?
In my opinion?
Yeah. Like, give us a couple films.
I love anything that makes me just feel uneasy and unsettled and just has a slow brooding.
Yes.
Like I'm not seeing the killer. There's not blood and guts. Have you guys, I'm sure you've all seen this. I love this movie. The Invitation.
Oh my God. Yes. So fucking good. Yeah. So good.
Oh, it's funny you mentioned that.
That does it for me. I mean, that's just quintessential. Like that's exactly what I look for. Also Creep. The original Creep.
Love Creep. I've seen that one. I can participate.
Yeah, we'll get
the second one's not bad.
Yeah, second one's not bad.
Well, for me, we're simpatico, man, because like I can appreciate horror comedy, Big Evil Dead 2 fan, but like when it comes to horror, I don't really want to be entertained. I want to be like fucking straight terrified, and not a lot of people are like that.
Yeah, because for me, like I get the same thing from horror that I get from Pixar, and so either one is good. Just like I just like put either one on, I'm like in this happy pacifier state.
Right.
Well, we're learning a lot about Brian Seymour. He's our guest. You can follow him on Twitter at Brian J. Seymour, of course. He's really, really a thoughtful guy, but he has a good sense of humor. He also loves Tool, so if you like Tool, you can talk with him for hours about Tool. That's like his go-to musically. He even shares Tool with. You even share Tool with your own child.
Sale.
I love it.
Tickets go on sale tomorrow morning. Tickets for them actually go on sale tomorrow morning.
I saw them once a couple years ago at DTE. That was a pretty cool day. I was kind of like just recovering from a big opioid binge, but I still had a good time. It was great. So
I heard Maynard's a real sweet guy in real life.
I think these days he's pretty settled down. I mean, when you get into your mid-50s and stuff like that, start.
That's what I don't know. Are you mid-50s, dude? I don't think you know anything about that.
I'm 35, but I've got to imagine. I mean, that's what they tell me. I don't know.
Nope, we're not having any of that. Okay, anyways, we're going to talk more about the Squid and the Whale in this movie later. We're going to get deep into it. We're going to break it down. Noah Baumbach. This is our second Baumbach film that we've done on this show, which has 76 episodes, right?
I think we're on 78.
Oh, shit. Okay, 77 episodes. Either way, there's plenty of episodes for you guys to go back and chew on. If you want to go back and really see how we've evolved, how we gotten to this point, or just hear about some of the movies that we've done that you love, take a look at the list. Go to the audio feed of your favorite podcast platform. Subscribe, connect, give us that 5-star rating. That'd be cool. We always love that. That'd be very, very kind. All right, let's get into quarantine viewing picks. Travis, lead us off. You are in control of the board.
Well, the movie I watched with our friend Steve was a movie from Ireland called Boys from County Hell. Decent vampire flick from last year. There are some flaws, but this was some pretty quality horror comedy. I put it in that order. Decent horror comedy. If you like vampires, and again, like there's a couple moments where I'm like, what in the fuck? Like this is a terrible choice. Like there's a few what the fuck moments, but if you can be forgiving, this is worth checking out. And the only other movie I watched this week was The Squid and the Whale. But
holy shit,
I watched a lot of TV though. got back into TV a little bit. Mike, tell us, who's your favorite actor?
I really love Billy Crudup. He really is. I
boy.
thought about it hard. So yeah, Billy Crudup's my guy.
So at your suggestion, I watched The Morning Show, and I watched every episode, and fucking Billy Crudup is so good. I was still kind of reeling from watching him in in Glass Chin a few weeks ago, but he just fucking owns this show. He's so amazing. I mean, everybody in it is good. I mean, of course, Jennifer Aniston, of course, Reese Witherspoon's good. Gugu Mbatha-Raw is outstanding. I thought she was good in Loki, but she's really good in the Morning Show. But fucking Billy Crudup, man. Oh, he's so awesome. Of course, Mark Duplass. Just really, really good stuff. I love watching like the sides being taken and all of this like back and forth and like alliance building and destroying, and just really fascinating. I really like The Morning Show.
Has this okay?
Yay!
So did you do the? I know you're watching Ted Lasso, but did you pull the trigger on Apple, like the subscription, because of these two huge shows that are critically applauded?
Yeah, I've had it for a little while, and
Okay.
because I love Ted Lasso, I've kept it, and then I started watching The Morning Show and blurred right the fuck through them. I mean, I watched them all in like 2 days. It was stupid.
Damn.
So did I. That is so interesting. So it's clearly that's two people who know a thing or two about entertainment who like the show. So it's got to have something to it that's interesting.
Utterly absorbing. Yeah, really,
Yeah,
really.
I just
good. And of
blew
course,
through it too.
I didn't mention Steve Carell. Also, like, really nice to see him in a role like this. And the movie, like, the show is so current. Like, it reminds me a lot of Newsroom for like a lot of obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Speaking of Jeff Daniels, but yeah, like just really handles like current events or fairly, because it's like a year behind us in real life, you know. But it just really handles in a way that I don't like. You know, I don't want to see coronavirus stuff, but like it's starting to get into that in the new season, and it's like, okay, I think I finally found the medium where I'm like the show, or like, you know, because like ordinarily it's like, oh god, what? Just pretend it doesn't exist. But they're not doing that in the show. They're doing a good job with how they're approaching it so far.
So Travis, come on now.
Yes,
You watched it, right?
I watched Midnight
Bring it.
Mass. Yeah, I watched
Bring it.
I watched Midnight
I'm
Mass.
ready for some fucking praise.
Well, it's coming because I fucking loved it. I think that
Oh.
I think Mike Flanagan is the modern master of horror. I don't think that. I mean, I like Ari Aster. I like a lot of other
Bold.
people. I mean, I like James Wan. There's some good people, but fucking in terms
Fuck
of
those guys.
in terms of, well, I think they're good, but I think in terms of consistency, quality of work, and giving me horror, but also making me, like in this case, like there's a lot of existential stuff going on here, some deeply emotional stuff. Just really powerful, good filmmaking in Midnight Mass. A little heavy on the soliloquies, maybe back up on that a little bit.
Yeah.
But I you know, I've liked Hamish Linklater since that TV show he did with Robin Williams, The Crazy Ones, and it was
That's what
kind of,
And was telling me. Like, I'm like, where the fuck who is this guy?
he was on Newsroom too. Speaking of, but
Also in The Big Short.
yeah, so he's popped up here and there, and I really liked him on Legion. That particularly got my attention. But so I've always kind of liked him, but like he fucking kills it in this show. It's incredible work. If you just like acting, you'll. I think we're gonna see a lot more from Hamish Linklater coming forward.
Have you been watching it, Brian? You're a horror fan. Mike, I know you have no interest.
I have not. No, I have not. I have not dabbled.
It's real solid.
Loved it so much.
I don't want to get into any spoilers, but I think that there's some innovative takes here, and it's just really fine filmmaking. I mean, just the guy just really knows what he's fucking doing.
Nice.
Midnight Mass. Okay. Well,
Midnight Mass, and that's it.
Cool.
That's what I watched. This week.
Yay! I'm so glad you like the morning show. That makes me happy. I don't know why, but it does. All
Made me
right,
happy
Eric Bransham, you have control of the board now. What'd you watch?
Oh, dude. I'm sorry, but I'm back into I watched a couple movies, but I'm back into Unsolved Mysteries, man. I cannot stop watching. I can't. Mysteries with Robert Stack. I can't get enough. And I may need some help. This could be worse than the pro wrestling documentary Plague that scourged me over the course of the summer of 2021. Every
Those
day
were
I
good
would
though,
watch.
man. Those were good.
I love
Pro
them, man.
wrestling
Price of
documentaries
Fame.
are fantastic.
It's so good. And the Dark Side of the Ring just started season 3 again, so I'm back into it. I can't get enough of them. But aside from that, I took our good friend of the show, Chud Pud, Sorry. I took a good friend of the show, Chud Butt, up on a recommendation, and I am fucking so glad that I did. From 2018, Blind Spotting. Have you guys seen this movie?
Not yet. He did suggest it. It was good.
Oh my god, it's fucking fantastic, man. So like, be careful if you're trying to rent it. Be very, very careful, because I accidentally rented The Blind Side, thinking that it was Blind Spotting, and that's one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life.
That movie is terrible.
Yeah,
that movie.
I don't know why she won the Academy. That was the ultimate example of somebody being advertised and pushed and promoted to win it from the studio.
Hell 101.
But
dude, yeah, I was on the phone with Comcast for over 2 hours trying to get that $5 rental fee off my account because of that mishap.
Time well spent.
Dude, props to what was that guy's name? Janusz from Comcast, because he fucking hated The Blind Side too. But anyway, Blind Spotting is one of the best movies of the 2010s, easily. I encourage you guys so fundamentally to watch this movie, man. We've got David Diggs from Hamilton.
Mm-hmm, he's great.
This guy is incredible. He wrote it along with his buddy Raphael Cassell. It kind of reminded me of Swingers, but without all the bullshit, because we've got two friends that are dealing with just life how it is, and in this case it's in Northern California in 2018, and for a black man and a Latinx gentleman, it's just confusing, man. And there's a little bit of fuckery going on, and it's a little maybe too playful, like that early Spike Lee stuff where it was just a little too playful. There's a little, not all the Blanchard, but I'm telling you, man, it's so magnetically directed by Carlos Lopez Estrada. We got Ethan Embry. Wayne Knight pops in, and he's fucking good in the picture. It's fucking fantastic commentary on life for young minority groups in the 21st century, man. I cannot praise it highly enough. Loved it. And other than that, man, that's it. It's Blind Spotting and Unsolved Mysteries, man. Last night we had a dude that he went missing with amnesia. Still haven't found the motherfucker.
No, that's not funny. I take that little laugh back.
Yep.
Yeah, that must have hit close to home, Travis. I'm sorry. So.
I don't have amnesia, but
there it is.
You don't.
So
have
that's
amnesia.
not train. It was so Blind Spotting was not like Train Spotting.
It was not.
It's really hard not to think of Train Spotting when you hear Blind Spotting.
It's almost
hell
impossible.
without the heroin.
Don't think of an elephant. Don't think of an elephant. Don't think of an elephant. Oh, you thought of an elephant.
Shit. Okay, Eric, thanks. Yeah, well, I'll probably never watch it, but thank you. I'd love and appreciate
Mike,
respect.
I was thinking of you.
You can fast forward it.
The entire time I was watching it, you would love this movie.
Why did you so dryly say you would never watch it? Why did you just...
I assumed it was a horror movie. Is that what he said?
He didn't say anything like that.
I just kind of inferred that.
He didn't listen at all. It's about a couple of dudes hanging out. It's literally about two friends hanging out.
I actually really was paying attention. I just missed it entirely. I wasn't like distracted at all.
Maybe when I said it's kind of like Swingers, you thought it was kind of like Scanners.
I love Swingers. I heard you say that. So that is actually interesting. All right. Okay. I take it back. Usually, Brian, if they're talking horror, I don't like horror. I don't give a shit about horror. So that's...
But yeah, we were nowhere near horror on that one.
Yeah, I realize that now.
We did bring up Blind Side for a minute, so
it's just horrific.
That could be considered horror.
Yeah. By the way, just Sandra Bullock's a fine actress. She just didn't deserve the Academy Award for that performance. That's all. Right? Yeah.
I think everyone feels the same as you.
Okay, I just want to clarify that.
Universal opinion.
As far as me, man, I've been watching movies like a fiend, and I forgot a couple last week that I wanted to talk about. And I want to give respect to Brian Madison, who's been a guest on the show. You can go back and listen to that episode, which was Devil in a Blue Dress from 1995, Brian's guest spot. He asked me if I'd ever seen Defending Your Life, Albert Brooks film from 1991, and I had never seen Defending Your Life. Yeah, so I absorbed that, and I loved it. It was... It was certainly a heavenly and ethereal and kind of out of this world for sure, but a real great foundational premise that keeps this movie in the conversation for movies probably for decades to come, because it's about fear, like humans living in fear and decisions that we make and the way we react and stuff. I found it to be really like, it hit me like close to home, like, well, yeah, this really is like the crux of life sometimes. So it's also funny. Rip Torn's in it too. That's fun. And Meryl Streep was in it. I was like, oh my God, Meryl Streep's in this? I was not expecting that. So I'd strongly recommend Defending Your Life, Albert Brooks. Even if you don't like Albert Brooks, give it a shot. It's a little bit funny, but it's also introspective, philosophical. It's got a lot of things going on in it. So Brian, I want to thank you for thinking of that film.
It really is a cult classic. Like not everyone's seen it, but I agree. It's like it kind of resonates in film culture, and there's a reason for it.
Okay. See, I didn't quite know
Brooks.
that.
Can't go wrong. You've never gone wrong with that Albert Brooks film, period.
Well, people would disagree because I watched Real Life, which was a total bomb at the box office.
Oh, shit.
With Charles Grodin.
Fuck the box office. Is the film good?
I mean, Citizen Kane bombed at the box office, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Real Life is okay. It's very, very like forward thinking. It's about, doing a reality show in 1979 before reality TV was ever a thing. So it's okay though. It's got its moments, but it's kind of drab. I didn't think it was that great, but I watched Modern Romance, another Albert Brooks film in 1981. And I really liked that. This was a great tale about jealousy and the crazy shit that your mind will do when you're into somebody. You break up with them, but then oh no, I don't have them now. Now I gotta have them back. It's just so well done. And this is a great movie. Modern Romance by Albert Brooks. I'd love for everybody who's not seen it to check it out, because you're probably it's very likely you'll at least relate to a couple of things. Even if you think you've had the perfect relationship, you might be surprised. And I watched Rush, 1991's Rush with Jason Patrick.
Dude, I was just talking about that a few months ago. What'd you think, bro?
This is Jason Patrick and Jennifer Jason Leigh, 1991.
Goddamn right. And
it's got
Greg Allman.
Yes, Greg Allman of the Allman Brothers plays
Greg
the
Allman.
bad guy. He says like 5 words, but he's in a lot of scenes, but he says 5 words. A lot of him walking around in a leather jacket with long hair with a very serious face. Like,
what else you need?
Yeah.
Some people have made an entire film career of that.
That's true. They have. And also the soundtrack is completely done, or the score is done by Eric Clapton. So it is very Lethal Weapon-y with the tons of that, which made me laugh a few times, but it's a very serious movie because Sam Elliott's in it too. It's a great movie. It's a really good undercover cops drug movie that I never seen, and I'm really glad I saw it. Rush, 1991. Rush. Jason Patrick, Jennifer Jason Leigh, Sam Elliott. Really good. I'd strongly recommend that. All right, then I watched both the movies about Steve Prefontaine. So there's 2 movies that came out in 1997 to 98 about the track runner, Steve Prefontaine. He was a very famous track runner. There's not a lot of famous long distance runners. We've had a lot of like short sprinters that we know about at the Olympics, but yeah, this guy was on the cover of SI in like 1970, and he died young. So there was 2 movies, and apparently there was a rift between the writers of the original movie, so they ended up making 2 because they got pissed at each other. So Tom Cruise was going to play Steve Prefontaine, but he was already like 35 or something by that point. So he produced the movie that Billy Crudup starred in, Without Limits. So Billy Crudup was the second movie. Jared Leto was the first movie. And I liked them both. I really do. The first movie's more indie, kind of raw. I like the feel of it. They try to tell it as like a documentary, but it's not because they're all actors. And then the second one is much more sweeping with Billy Crudup and like a bigger money soundtrack, and Warner Brothers produced it, so it's got a lot more money behind it. But Donald Sutherland does a better job of playing Bill Bowerman, who is this legendary coach who also co-founded Nike, the Nike shoe company. So Donald Sutherland did a better job in Without Limits than Arlie Ermey did as Bill Bowerman in the indie one.
Army.
Army.
I love how in the 90s we had 2 volcano movies with
that's the same time frame too.
2 Armageddon, 2 asteroid movies with the Armageddon Deep Impact, and 2 pre-fun.
Yeah, Ants' Life, Bugs, and Ants and Bugs' Life. Right?
Yep.
This is all the late 90s too. What the hell is going on? Very strange. But they're
Studio
both good.
poaching. Studio poaching.
Studio poaching. I watched a really dumb movie called The Comeback Trail with Robert De Niro and Zach Braff with Tommy Lee Jones. This came out this year, 2021. The Comeback Trail. It's about Robert De Niro's an old ass producer, and Morgan Freeman's in it too, and he's trying to like scam Emil Hirsch. It's okay. It's really, really kind of a black comedy, a dark comedy, a cynical movie. I don't know if I'd recommend it, but it was okay.
Well, I mean, I loved De Niro and The Comedian. That was a great black comedy. So maybe he's got some stuff in there. You still haven't seen that, have you? You're gonna love it when you finally watch it.
The Comedian.
Yeah, it's fucking awesome.
When did that come out?
I think 2017 or something like that.
I haven't seen that either, and I'm intrigued.
It's real good.
Isn't that an Art Linson movie? I heard a lot of talk about that.
It is jet black comedy, like very dark.
Okay.
But it's good. It's funny.
All right, that's cool. Yeah, I should watch that. I should get on that. I don't know what's wrong with me or why I'm not doing that. Have I failed someone in any way? I'm apologizing right now.
Mike, that's Taylor Hackford. You got to get there immediately.
It was Taylor Hackford.
Fan.
Oh shit, Taylor Hackford. Okay, cool.
Yeah, we're checking out.
I watched a terrible Albert Brooks movie, The In-Laws, with Michael Douglas, which came out right after Meet the Parents.
Unnecessary remake. Yeah.
Yeah, really bad.
Fucking good.
Yeah,
so bad. Ryan Reynolds is in it too. You're like, oh wow, it's horrid. It came out in 2003. I would not recommend The In-Laws at all. I watched The Muse in 1999 with Sharon Stone and Albert Brooks. Not good either, but it was okay. I wasn't as bad as the overall reception and kind of the reputation of The Muse is. It was kind of funny to see all these huge directors coming in and like begging her for advice, like Martin Scorsese and James Cameron. That was funny. So it had some moments. I will give it that. And I'll close with movie that blew me away.
What was the
movie that got me to tears?
This man was in tears.
I was just a couple hours ago. Fucking Pig, man. Pig got me good.
Yes. No
Pig
spoilers, but it's so powerful.
It's not what you expect either,
Brian.
guys.
Check it out.
I am Googling as we speak, actually. Wow. This is
one of the latest Nicolas Cage ventures. Yeah.
I see that.
Yeah.
I
would totally recommend it.
Still my favorite. So far, it's my favorite.
Comedian.
Pig is my favorite of the year so far.
Doesn't get much better for 2021. Jesus, God, it's so good.
It'd be hard for me. I'd have to double check, but I think so far you guys are probably right. I strongly recommend this movie, Brian, and anybody else hearing this or watching this. Check out Pig if you haven't watched it. I thought maybe it was. I just had some weird thoughts in my head of what it might be.
Nick Cage. It's understandable. He's done it to himself. As much as I love him, I get it.
Yeah,
plus
that's
it's
true.
Pig. I mean,
plus it's called Pig. Yeah, there was a hashtag. There's a hashtag for it that was like, "Bring me back my pig" or some shit.
Yep.
Like
the expectations. I mean, Jesus, Pig.
Yeah, but Adam Arkin was in this too. It was really good. It was a lot of great performances from all kinds of people. So I'm strongly recommending Pig.
What's the kid's name? Alex
Wolff.
Alex Wolff. He's one to watch, man. He's really good in this too.
He was phenomenal. Yes. Very
Hereditary.
Very wild movie.
Yeah.
So good, though. So good. There it is. Pig. All right. That's mine. Brian, have you any recommendations for us, for the audience? They don't have to be necessarily ones you've watched recently, but this is your chance to recommend movies to people.
Let me give you this. So I've mainly just been watching a couple documentaries and TV series lately, which I'll name one in a moment because it is new. But a movie that I will highly recommend that I'm going to bet that at least 67% of this panel has seen. It just came out a couple of years ago. I'm thinking of ending things.
Oh,
yeah.
boy.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
I hated it so much.
You hated it?
Absolutely loathed it.
Oh,
and I really liked Charlie Kaufman, and I fucking hated it so much.
We all love Charlie Kaufman here.
Let me ask you this. I really want to ask you this because I love this movie.
Or Eric, you liked it, right? You loved it.
I appreciated it, but I was like, "Fuck you."
Oh, okay.
Let me ask you, when was it like bullshit? When did it go downhill for you, or were you not into it from the beginning?
Yeah. After, like, I'm willing to hear someone out, especially a filmmaker, So it's probably after like 40 minutes. I was like, so this is what we're doing? Fuck
Yeah.
you. This is pretentious horse shit.
That's about the same for me. Like,
It is pretentious, I think. Yeah.
Oh, it's so like Synecdoche, New York is literally one of my favorite movies. I think it's so powerful.
I don't mean to shit on your pick, though. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we did.
He can handle it. He'll be fine.
No, I think like I more hit that wall maybe 2/3 of the way into the movie.
Oh, so you did hit that wall.
Yeah. I mean, it didn't get to the point that I didn't like it anymore, but I was like, dude, this is getting. I think it was like the dance scene in the high school and stuff. Yeah. I was like, this has gone very far. But I am a fan of man, I can't think of his name in real life, but Todd from Breaking Bad.
I love Jesse Plemons.
Yeah,
incredible.
Yeah, Jesse Plemons. Yeah,
he is great. I love the what's her name? She was fucking fantastic.
She was really good.
Can't wait to see more. I just think at a certain point, who are you trying to entertain, me or yourself?
Yourself, yeah, I get it.
By the way, Thinking of Anything's came out last year. Just to update that, it was 2020 release.
I knew it was pretty
Jessie Buckley is her name, I believe. Jessie Buckley.
Yeah, she was fucking great. I liked her.
Yeah, I agree. It gave me, you know what? It gave me super into being a David Lynch fan. It really took a lot of stuff from Eraserhead, like big time. Like it made me think of the Eraserhead dinner scene. Just with the chickens and all that shit. Like when they're all having dinner together, I was like, yeah, this is very Eraserhead right now. It just gave me those vibes a lot. So I think that's why I appreciated that part anyway. But more recently,
I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, more recently, HBO 6-part documentary. And my God, I can't remember the actual name of it, but it's about QAnon. And what do you guys know what it's called? I forget what it's called.
No, I've seen ads and stuff for it. It looked good. I just don't know that I want to put myself through it.
Well, I kind of felt that too, and it's not really as much. I went in thinking that it was going to be like a whole, a bunch of Q people, and there's definitely some of that, but it's actually way, way more about 4chan and how the whole thing got started. Who
Into
runs
the Storm?
4chan. That's it. Yes. It's way more about like anonymity and message boards and how the whole weird thing got started from the get-go. So it's not so much about like, QAnon people. It's more so how it began, who Q is and stuff like that. It drags at some points, I'll give you that. But I was entertained. I mean, and I think by the end you may have an idea who Q actually is.
Wow.
But yeah, it was an interesting watch. Yeah,
I've heard nothing but great things about it. I never bothered to settle into it. I guess part of me is like, I don't give a shit, but I don't know. I guess there is. I would probably like it if I watched the whole thing. I probably would, because I'd absorb that stuff.
I think the appeal that Eric kind of has, like maybe towards like the pro wrestling documentaries, which I mean, I certainly respect what pro wrestlers do, but there's something about that whole dynamic and like the showmanship and the behind the scenes of pro wrestling that it's addictive to watch those documentaries. And I had that same kind of feeling about watching the Q documentary because I just wanted to see like, what is this about? Like, and it was a world that I knew nothing about. Yeah, it was intriguing. Like I said, drags a little bit, but I would check it out.
All right.
Yeah.
Anything else?
That's what I got. No, that's what I got for you.
All right, cool. Thanks, brother.
Yeah, thanks, man.
There it is. You're connecting with the Cinema 9 podcast. Those were some of our recommendations. We got no emails this week, so we can skip past the Proton Mail, which is cinema9pod@protonmail. Please email us if you want to, although you don't have to. There's no requirements for any types of participation here. Having said that, it's time to get into it. Brian Seymour's main selection, Does It Hold Up? The 2005 film that put Noah Baumbach probably on the map. I know Kicking and Screaming exists, but this is the one that really gave him a lot of credibility.
Longevity even, right? Like he was kind of been forgotten. This established him.
Agreed. Okay, cool. So we're on the same page for 2005's The Squid and the Whale, starring Jeff Daniels, Laura Linney, Jesse Eisenberg, and the other guy. So, of course, I don't know the kid's
name. About Billy Baldwin?
Frank.
No.
Frank is Owen Klein.
Owen Klein. Oh, okay. I was going to call him the
Kevin Kline's son.
Acting royalty.
Yeah, Kevin
really?
Kevin Kline and what's
Phoebe
her name?
Cates? Phoebe Cates.
Phoebe Cates. Yeah.
I did not know that was his son. Okay, see, shit. Yeah, I should have known that. Thanks, guys. I just call him the Jizz Slinger, but that's just me. So
I call him Little Mark Duplass.
As most do to this day.
Either way, guys, come on. Either way, don't be difficult, please. Let's just keep this simple. No Philistines.
Okay, there it is.
You're way off base, Mike. You're way off base.
Don't be difficult, Michael.
Don't be difficult, Mike.
We are not a show of Philistines. We are definitely into this type of stuff. So let's take it from the top. Let's go over to Travis Roy to lead us off. Travis, do you remember the first time you saw this movie, The Squid and the Whale?
I actually do for once. I actually do remember this viewing experience. It was dull. I remember that I rented it when it was new. I had seen a preview. I actually still have never seen Kicking and Screaming, so I really wasn't familiar with Noah Baumbach. Yeah, I'm fine. Anyways,
it's not bad.
It's on the list. Like I've seen a lot of movies, I promise, but I haven't gotten around to that one. Anyways, so this was actually my first Baumbach experience, and I was really impressed. I remember I watched it and immediately bought a used copy of it that I saw that was like a good price. It was like not too expensive. And I'm like, yeah, this is what I want on the shelf. I'm going to watch this over and over again. And then I watched it, I think, once more, and then on the shelf it stayed.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
What about you, Eric?
Yeah, dude, I was pumped. I saw this in theaters in November of 2005. This is a month after I first moved into my first apartment as I was a late bloomer. But it's a single dude that had his own apartment. I'm like, I'm going to the fucking State Theater in Ann Arbor where they're showing this, and I'm going to watch this film. And this is a fucking art film, and I don't give a shit what anybody says. I'm going to love it. Even if I end up secretly hating it, I'm just going to tell people I love it. It's one of those movies. Remember when you were 25 and you were like, hey, if you go to the theater to see an art movie, you're just going to say you like it. So I went there and I walked out. I walked out and I'm like, yeah, this fucking movie was awesome. Then I went to my karaoke gig at Whitmore Lanes.
Whitmore Lanes.
Classic. Those were the days. Those were the fucking days.
Pictures of shitty beer and never-ending
Sunset
U2
Week.
songs.
Yeah, a lot of Sunset Week, a lot of Charlie Pride.
A lot of Sunset Week, a lot of Charlie Pride.
Yeah, I definitely saw this on DVD. I did not see it in the theater, but when I did see it, it was like, boom! It was a revelation. I was like, oh my God, this movie is incredible. I relate to so much of it. Divorced couple. And it was also very funny, though. It was really, really funny to me. I thought the dialogue was so snappy, and it instantly gave me, I got to keep in touch with Noah Baumbach. I got to know what this guy's doing at all times. Wes Anderson also...
You stay true to that. You know what he's doing at all times.
I do, yes. I could get him on the horn right now if we absolutely had to. I don't want to, but Wes Anderson produces too, so that was also like, oh, Wes Anderson's in supporting of this. And then I learned about their friendship and connection later, and I think some weird shit happened between him and his ex-wife Jennifer Jason Leigh. And people talk about Marriage Story, by the way, but this movie is much better than Marriage Story, and or at least should be in the same conversation. Like, oh my God, Marriage Story. Did you ever see Squid and the Whale? When it was all the rage on Twitter and shit a couple years ago, I was a little bothered and offended by that because this movie was about divorce and done just as well. But I'll leave it at that for now. Brian, what about you, buddy? You remember the first time you ever saw this film?
So it's really weird, actually, because the way that I kind of got into this movie over time is when my sister and I were young. This is very my sister and I have a lot of memories about this movie, but when we were young, on one of the very high upper pay-per-view channels or something like that, we on our the cable that we had in my town, this movie was on all the time on one of the Stars networks. I think it was always on all hours of the day on one of the different Stars channels, and we would always see it on, or it would be on in the background or something like that, and I would just catch different parts of it. So over time I would have seen the whole movie kind of patchwork together. But as a kid and not really paying that much attention to it, or as a teenager or whatever I might have been, I don't even know at the time. It was kind of no, I guess I would have been older than that. That's weird. But yeah, I kind of thought to myself, I had this impression that because this is on all the time, it most likely sucks. That's just kind of what I figured, because, usually it's Independence Day is on again, or I don't know, like a network just airing the same movie over and over and over again. So it gives you the impression that it's this must be garbage. Like, I don't know why they have access to this movie all the time. So that's just what I thought. And then as I got older, I actually watched it the whole way through, and I was like, wow, this is not at all what I thought. And when I think back, one beautiful thing I think about this movie that is maybe a basic thing to say is it is such a short watch. I mean, it is literally only 80 minutes, which, and again, I know it's about 16 years old. Yes, you don't get that anymore. If anything, you're only bitching about a movie being way too long nowadays.
Thank
That's really
you, Brian.
all
Thank you. God bless you.
Right. Yeah. So it's like, then I finally saw it. And I'm like, I had no idea this was what it was. And then again, my sister and I just started to watch it almost annually after that and just pick up on Mike, like you said. It's fucking hilarious. Like, it's depressing as hell. Don't get me wrong. Like, I when I watched it again last night, just absolute palpable depression. Like, I actually was getting depressed, and like the kind of depressed where like you get this from the characters. It's almost like the kind of depressed where it's like, I don't even know if there's going to be a tomorrow. You just have this like hanger on vibe that they create, like just these like moments where, and I know we'll get into this, I don't want to go be too long winded, but just like right away when the movie starts, Jeff Daniels is playing tennis with Laura Linney, and he hits like a backhand way too unfairly hard at her, and you can tell she's offended, and then it's just he's being competitive, and it kind of just fizzles out, and you're like, oh Jesus, dude, like this is gonna be tough, but again, there's so many hilarious moments because they're such assholes too, and it's so genuine. So
Ryan,
man,
I gotta interject because like the opening, like I've taken a couple of screenwriting classes, and what they always say is to make at least your first image, if not your whole scene, indicative of what's to come. And I fucking love this first scene because we literally have 4 people in 4 different quadrants that are competing against one another, man.
That's fantastic.
So you talk about a lack of unity in a family relationship. This says it all, bro.
They're not just competing against each other. The father is teaching the son how to hit the mother in her weak spots.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Well said. That's really interesting. Yeah, we'll talk more about that. You're right. But of course, we got to guess the IMDb score. Did anyone look at it or?
No.
I didn't either. So let's go for it, guys. What do we got?
Oh shit. I mean, I can imagine this is like a critical, like New York hoity-toity darling. What do like regular people think? I'm gonna go somewhere in the middle. I'm gonna say 6.8.
I was thinking 6.7.
I'm very close to that. I was gonna say 7.2.
Yeah, I'm with you, Brian. I think just over 7. Like I was gonna say a 7.3. Actual retail price is 7.3. Oh my God, I'm so in touch with this movie. I'm in touch with this movie. Yeah.
You already had the tab up. Okay.
Look at you.
See what happened there.
How dare you? I take great offense to that.
This is the norm.
Great offense to that. I would never, ever.
Guesses it all the time.
I love guessing. The Squid and the Whale on Rotten Tomatoes, just like Eric hinted at, 92% from the critics. That's very high. That's elite.
New York elite critics are like, oh yeah, this was my childhood.
Because they all are basically Jeff Daniels' character.
Pretty much.
Yeah, you're right about that, probably. But then the audience a little bit behind, but not too far. 81%. That's still pretty good. So it's not like they were like, God, this is a nightmare. But I'm sure someone's going to have something negative to say about this film, and we will discuss that. As far as the critical reviews, back in 2005, boy, there's a lot of them. We've got several pages. I'm sure everybody, like you guys were hinting at, wanted to chime in on their opinion of this. Oh my God, I could relate to this movie just like me. And I'm saying that. So I'm sure there's other people like me out there. So, but as far as Roger Ebert said, The Squid and the Whale is essentially about how we grow up by absorbing what is useful in our parents and forgiving what is not. Huh. Okay. I don't know if there's a lot of forgiveness here. I don't know.
I think you get some resolution by the end. I think there's a little bit by the end, but
we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Our main man, Desson Thompson.
Yes.
Desson. We love Desson Thompson.
Broken home, Desson? We might find out.
Yeah, who knows? Brian, if you're not familiar with Desson Thompson, you should really look into him.
You know the answer to that.
Very special critic.
Okay.
Destin says the movie feels like it was written in the filmmaker's own sweat and tears.
Yeah. Okay. That's accurate.
The movie's been called semi-autobiographical, maybe to a fault.
All I know is that if I'm Noah Baumbach's younger brother, I'm fucking pissed. Smearing semen all over the fucking place like a maniac. Putting it up on film, whether you did it or not, everyone's going to look at you side eyes for the rest of your life and be like, "Were you smearing cum all over library books as a child?" And you're like, "No."
True.
You have to tell them that it's just.
Well, like Jeff Daniels says, a lot of kids do that. You know what I mean?
A lot of kids, myself included, they do weird things when they're confused about.
Nope, you're breaking up there, buddy.
But I'm sorry. But I love that part of this film. All the stuff with the younger brother, I love it. And the reason I love it, and I had to think about this, is because it's not played for laughs. It would be so easy to do all the stuff that the younger brother does. Forgive me, I forget his name. I know Walt.
Frank.
The stuff that Frank does. Noah Baumbach doesn't try to make it funny. It'd be very easy to make it funny, but it's very truthful, and I love that about the film. It reminds me a lot about what Truffaut did with the Antoine Doinel trilogy in the 60s.
How many cum shots were in that movie?
Yeah,
because by my count, this is about 3 more cum shots in this movie than the average film.
That's true. Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Non-porno.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, barring the films of Wicked Studios.
Carrie Ricky says from the Philadelphia Inquirer, as one who survived the epic clash of estranged parents, Baumbach has not only lived to tell the tale, but has grown up with sufficient empathy to retell it with great flourish and from the perspectives of the warriors and their collateral damage.
The warriors?
Yeah, these people are in a divorces war. She's making that reference. Yeah, she's doing that.
Like, come out and play. What's going on? All right.
Yeah, I don't know if you're down with that or not, but overall, you're down with the sickness? Yeah.
Sure.
Either way, all of these, it's just a ton of red tomatoes. Very positive. You know, Lisa Schwartzbaum from Entertainment Weekly. Baumbach lets no one off the hook, least of all himself.
I'd like to throw out my friend Matthias Fuhling's letterbox one sentence review for this film, which was Brooklyn must be destroyed. I thought that was pretty good review.
I like that. Okay,
I like that
too. All right, so here we are now. The floor is open. We can take this in any direction you want. Brian, you picked this movie, so what would you like to talk about? What do you really?
I can feel it. So here's what I'll say. This was my overall theme, and this is very personal too. But from watching this last night, now again, I've seen this a number of times already. I watched it to kind of refresh myself again last night. I noticed, though, and I didn't realize this because why would I? But I noticed as I was watching it that an important event in my life happened since the last time I've watched this, which made me see it in an even stronger light. And that is that I voluntarily ended the relationship with the mother of my son since the last time I watched this. My son is only 2. He'll be 3 very soon. So it's nowhere near, the kind of feelings and the things you're going to deal with, obviously, in this movie with 2 teenage-ish boys. But it hit me in a inexplicably, I just can't even put it into words the way that it made me feel, because even though it's been a bit since that separation, which was needed and definitely would have not been an optimal situation for my son as he grows, just like you can see with these characters in this movie. Those 2 people needed to separate. I mean, I don't think anybody would really argue that. They're both.
What about the burgers? Come on, he made burgers.
He did make burgers. He was making well, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It took her having pneumonia, and he fucking remembers it like it was a chore.
Oh shit!
Yes, yeah. But those 2 people are mentally ill, very clearly.
Wow.
And should, in my opinion,
I'll give them that.
In my opinion, shouldn't even be in relationships. So, and I think that's a problem actually, like in a bigger commentary on like a lot of people in this country today is a lot of people are in these relationships and it's like, dude, you're fucked up. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. Like you are not a secure individual. You are not somebody who has any kind of independence. You're completely codependent on your partner. And, you're doing it all for the likes. And it's just, that's what I see. And maybe that's just kind of a bitter take.
I can appreciate that comment, man. Especially when you get into your middle ages, into middle age, you recede from clearly you recede from who you were when you were in your 20s, but you also start to meet people that are more like you or even akin to you in how you are than you were when you got married. And that's a fundamental choice you made maybe 10, 15 years ago. So I look at this relationship between, even Anna Paquin and Jeff.
Oh yeah, the student-teacher relationship.
Or even fucking Billy Baldwin with Laura Linney. I'm not entirely sure that no one deserves to be with another person. I'm just saying that personalities evolve, and you're not always going to be right for the person that you're with. And that's something that needs to be dealt with. And if it isn't dealt with properly, it's a fucking gigantic problem, obviously.
Or another take on this is do whatever the fuck you want, but if you have children, maybe don't tell them every aspect of your sex life.
Well,
where
that's
you
the
fuck
thing.
who, where, like
that's the thing. These people think that is helping these children. Okay, so it's a parenting.
Yeah, they think by being honest. I would agree. Yeah, there's probably some truth to that.
The narcissism.
Kanye West.
Kanye West.
Yeah. Kanye West
legendary Grammy Award-winning performer Kanye West. We appreciate your comment.
And Travis, you have a fan. You have an admirer. Josh Blair loves you.
Yeah, my friend Josh says he loves hearing the rich dulcet tones of my voice. Thank you, Josh.
You are competing with Brian
Seymour, really appreciate that.
Is the Barry White of podcasting.
Oh. Man, I don't know. I actually agree. I like Travis's voice a lot. Whenever we did your episode of What This Song Means to Me, I'm a fan. Of
dude, I've got to tell you, like, I'm starting to have extreme anxiety about doing that.
Are you? I think a lot of people probably do. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's the most personal thing I've ever put out in my life. And
really, in your life,
you've done
a lot of songwriting. And...
Yeah. But I did, but it was always like music. There's this veneer between me. Like there's the song, there's the coding of the lyrics. Like it's been very personal. But hanging that out there was it's starting to creep up on me. Like, okay, it's gonna be out this Wednesday. No, fuck. Okay, all right. Wait a week. It's gonna come out. Okay, you can do this.
Do you guys?
I want you to know it's becoming a source of stress in my life.
I would let you know in advance, so don't worry.
Okay.
Do you guys think that? For me, this is a kind of, I don't want to call it esoteric, but this is a relationship and a familial unit that I have no actual relationship with, which is a divorced family. Do you have to have that sort of experience in order to enjoy this film?
No. I think that having that experience would probably it certainly keeps me from enjoying the film.
Really?
Okay. Oh, 100%. I would love for you to elaborate.
Well, first of all, I live in utter bafflement of these descriptions of this movie is funny. Brian, you talked about the first 30 seconds being hilarious. You guys have both used the words hilarious. This movie is fucking spike through my heart. It's brutal. It hurts to watch this movie. There's nothing that I laughed at except for that one part when the friend of Walt talks about how some girl uses her pussy muscles or something stupid like that. Like no understanding of how sex works.
Yeah, they can blow your load in like 2 seconds.
Yeah,
I knew what he meant by that. Like when he was saying that, I was like, yeah, I see what you're saying.
Like, this guy doesn't know what sex is. But
that is so interesting, Travis.
But no, I'm like you described it as a dramedy, Mike. I'm like, where's the Imdb? Like I don't get.
My gosh.
Nothing to me is funny about this whatsoever.
This is entirely
fair.
Interesting. I'm thinking you 41. You lived through it. I would have expected you to see the, levity. Call it what you will, but do you really see this as just being painful and unfunny when it comes to these exchanges that are clearly trying to be quirky and do the whole Wes Anderson whip pan la 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 bullshit?
It's just all too close to home. It's just like just brings up PTSD, man. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, there's nothing here to delight me at all. It just brings me the fuck down.
I think it depends maybe where you are. I've found some.
No, I felt like this all along. I never thought it was funny back in the day either.
No, I'm not saying. Yeah, I'm not saying you have come to a new point. You're still in the same point, or I won't even speak to your point. All I'll say for me is that I have realized that my parents are just buffoons. They're just human beings. So I've kind of come to realize they just don't. They didn't know what they're doing. They didn't know.
That's the whole point of the movie.
Sure. Yeah. No, I forgave them a long fucking time ago, but it's still just
it's not about forgiveness either.
Well, I understand as well, but I'm just saying that I remember being both of those ages and dealing with that stuff, and I dealt with it in ways similarly to the ways both of these, these Walt and Frank deal with it. There's a lot of similarity. Like, it just hits home in a lot of ways for me. So I just can't find.
A lot of what they go through in some of their scenes are really rough and tough, and I agree. And the Frank stuff, as Eric pointed out, I like how that was played, and I also think it's kind of ridiculous that. Yeah, that was fun.
Tangerine Dream comes up every time.
The Tangerine Dream for every single one of his segments is just so perfect. It's cool. I think it's perfect. It's just I love
Tangerine,
and that goes along with what you said. It's not played funny at all, and it doesn't seem funny.
No. But what's funny about this movie is that it's not supposed to be funny. It's unintended comedy. It's just the way Jeff Daniels delivers his lines is what's funny about it. That's all it is. It's not supposed to be funny.
Dude, you nailed it. Like name one scene that is supposed to be funny.
Here is it the line. Let me see. Wait, where is it?
I got one.
Something about she was really racy, the way she was exhibiting her cunt like that.
Yeah.
That's
Did you realize it was about her cunt?
Did you get it? It was about.
I hated that scene.
Imagine Don's dick in Mom's mouth.
Yeah,
was that funny?
Yeah,
that was funny.
I couldn't, man.
The funniest line. One of the funniest lines I think Jeff Daniels says in the movie is, "I hear Blue Velvet's playing." Whenever
I would so rather see Short Circuit.
Well, hey,
with your teenage son and his girlfriend. Yeah, let's go see Blue Velvet. I heard.
If you're gonna join your son and his date on a nice night alone together, might as well check out Blue Velvet. I mean,
the guy is such
the worst. The worst is when he takes her money without even. He doesn't even look up. He just takes her money.
Yeah, isn't that the best part? I think we might all agree on this. Jeff Daniels' character is the biggest prick of all these fools. He's the biggest asshole. Yeah. I know Laura Linney's got issues, but they're not nearly as prickish and cold-hearted as the father.
She seems more regretful of her. I'm sorry, Travis, but she seems a little bit more, not regretful, but
introspective.
A little more despondent or introspective about what she's doing to her children, whereas Jeff Daniels is completely the opposite.
And it's really easy to forgive her as a viewer for cheating on this guy, because it's like, how could you not? How could you even spend a day with this person? I can't imagine being next to this guy on the plane.
Could break off the relationship earlier, but
I'm not saying she shouldn't have broken it up. I'm not saying it's cool to cheat on your partner. I'm just saying I don't blame her for it.
To give you a little bit of a different view, because no doubt about it, Jeff Daniels takes the cake for being like the asshole of the movie. But I knew that so much that when I went back and watched it, that was so in the forefront of my mind that I was like, man, Laura Linney really does some shitty stuff here. And I'm not talking about the cheating. I'm talking about justifying to Walt, aren't all the other kids' parents at your school divorced? Like, she says something like that to him. And it's really shitty. And it's like, you're like a little kid too. Like you said, Mike, it's like, these people are just fucked up.
I think the shittiest, sorry.
Go ahead.
I think the shittiest thing she does is sleeping with Ivan. Like, of all the fucking people in the world, you got to sleep with your son's fucking tennis coach. He idolizes him. That's going to fuck him up.
It's okay, my brother.
Hey, my brother. Good grip, my brother.
Good casting with Billy Baldwin.
I just banged your mom, my brother.
Suck my dick, ass man. How you know? That's funny. Suck my dick, ass man. After he throws the ping pong battle.
That was okay.
Funny.
Yeah, that was okay. I'll give you that. Suck my dick, ass man.
Travis, it's a barrel of laughs now.
That's actually the second ass man of the film, though, so it didn't hit
is
that hard.
That's his go-to line.
Two or
He loves
three.
Ass Man. Yeah, he's no Kramer, but Ass Man is. I'm gonna think about Frank for a long time. But when Bernard is always looking for these ins, only because of what Joan says, because he wanted to pay less child support, and he's his fucking filet of the neighborhood line is
love
so
that.
funny.
Oh my God.
I love it, man. And I have an elegant house across the street. Talk about, especially in an 80-minute film, talk about encapsulating a character with such rich and minimal dialogue. I fucking applaud Noah Baumbach, like it or leave it, for just writing characters so succinctly, which not a lot of people do.
Yeah.
For this 81-minute runtime, though, like Mike, you seemed surprised to learn that last night when you texted us, and you've seen this a few times, but you'd forgotten or didn't notice, because the movie's emotional work, so it feels longer than it is. And I'm not saying it's emotional work necessarily in a bad way. I'm just saying it's emotional work. Like I took a break halfway through and did some laundry, took my dogs out, got something to eat. Like I was happy to take that break halfway through.
I think you hit the nail on the head with that. I like it. You always surprised me that it was 80 minutes because it feels like, I feel like it's a 2-hour film. I feel like there's so much,
dude.
In it,
Brian, I was in the theater. I remember being like, this is it. It's ending now. And why is it ending? Is it ending only because Walt had this realization that, call it what it is that his family are the people that he's been afraid of his whole life? What about his younger brother? Okay. What about the other characters? You spend so much time on these other people, but you film it in such a way that we're expecting to see a resolution, not only from Walt, but from everybody else. We don't get it.
I can only assume the worst life possible for Frank. Obviously, Walt gets some sort of balance, but Frank is clearly fucked for life because we don't get any resolution for him.
I don't know if that's true. I mean, he's pretty emotional when the fake heart attack that Bernie has at the end of the movie.
Ridiculous.
And, you see for the first time that Walt is unraveling. So I think it's far from certain.
For the first time.
Yes,
the dude was smearing cum all over the place.
I'm talking about Walt.
Oh, Walt. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Walt for the first time he cries, and he's like, and now we just see him go see the therapist right before the end of the movie. So he's got a. So I don't know if it's so clear. It would be
love
obvious,
that scene, but don't film your rough draft. Keep it going. We want to. You've already got us. You know how to write. Keep going.
I found it clear because he goes there to look at, it's not just that he goes to look at the diorama of the Squid and the Whale. It's that his father asks him to stay, and he runs off without telling him, without saying goodbye. So I think that's very much about him acknowledging something, like forgiving his mother in his head, and because he talks about how he can't remember anything else really about his father, other than the shit that he parrots from him, so to me, I think
Minor Dickens. It's Minor Dickens.
Oh,
Minor
Fitzgerald is that's a grueling moment. No, exactly. When it's clear he never read Metamorphosis, that's the most awkward moment.
And I love how the 3 literary references are even references that we're smart and we at least are decently there, are the basic reading literature 101. We're going to seriously talk about this last scene because this says it all. So where are we at here? Why does he go to see this exhibit? I got 2 different viewpoints that I'd love to get into, but if you're going to have an 80-minute movie and it ends there just on Walt, which I think is a mistake.
Yeah, I agree.
You better dig into it.
I don't like the ending. I don't like it at all, honestly. So that's.
I disagree. I actually like it a lot. I like the ending a lot because it. Now I'm with you. I would like to know. I think maybe is it just that Frank is too fucked up, and it's yeah, you guys are right. He's gonna be fucked up. We don't have anything for you here. But at least Walt was at a point where he challenged his father in the hospital. He realized okay, here's this guy ordering, just the way that he even says it. Would you go get me a pillow, please? It's dude, fuck you. I am so sick of your shit.
He tells him not to be difficult.
That was the nail.
he's just so dismissive to the kid constantly. And even the way that Walt goes out and runs into the nurse and just says, "Hey, the man in that room would like to order some breakfast." My dad, not my dad or anything like that.
And it wasn't the blonde that he wanted either. That looked like Monica Vitti.
Because anytime anyone is difficult, quote unquote, to either Walt or Bernard in this film, it's just because they're voicing how Bernard or Walt made them feel.
Yeah.
And the way to shut them down is like, just don't be difficult.
It's the Hall of Fame dismissive statement that you could ever say. I don't think there's anything more dismissive you could say than that. Really.
Well, let's not forget, Walt said that to his, would-be girlfriend. So this is finally
Sophie.
him realizing that he is becoming his father. And everybody, not everybody, if you didn't know your father, but everybody has been in that situation where, Christ, I'm my father. I did it when excuse me, but I was hiding my drinking problem from my wife. I did it. I said, my dad did this. Okay. Yeah. And I knew I was becoming my father. So when that clicks and you see it in that beautiful scene with the hands, that is the Squid and the Whale, man. The whale is clearly the father, the big hand, and then the fingers that are trying to pull away. That's the squid. He's saying to himself, this fight that I've been so afraid of my entire life, I'm fighting this battle. And he pulls away and he goes and he says, is this true or is this not true? It's so beautiful.
Yeah, I love the ending because, the whole movie, Walt resents his mother so much. And his dad is like this pariah and everything to him. And, I don't know. This is just purely a statement. This isn't some kind of like, this is what it means or whatever. But like Travis, like you talked about how you don't find anything in this film funny because of your experience. And I totally get that and respect that. And one reason that the ending is really significant to me, and and it makes a lot of sense to me, is because so my mother and I aren't like estranged or anything like that by any means. Frankly, she, helps me out a lot when it comes to my son and is there for me and stuff. But like, we have never really had an understanding. She doesn't really know. Mike, you and I have talked about this personally, actually. Like, she doesn't really know, for my sister and I, what it is that we really do or what our interests are. She's just kind of, I don't even know. I don't want to go too down that road. But anyway, my mom and I don't have much of a connection. But when Walt is talking in that therapy session about him and his mom when he was 6 years old.
Oh my God, it's so beautiful.
Dude, it resonated with me so much because I was like a little kid and it was me and my mom at home. And I remember we would make like a Chef Boyardee pizza together in the kitchen, like every weekday while my dad was at work. And I mean, my dad was there. I mean, he just got home later, but like, I was that like toddler hanging out with my mom all day. And it's like, I haven't looked at my mom in that way or had a relationship like that with my mom, man, probably since I was 13 years old. I mean, it's been a really long time. And there's been a lot of reasons for that and a lot of things that have happened that I heavily disagreed with how she handled things with me growing up. And it's just, that's why that Walt thing resonates with me so much, because it's like, man, there was a time where like, my mom and I were like buddies kind of,
I think that's one of the beautiful things that this, Brian, I'm sorry to cut you off. One of the things this movie does, it respects its characters in terms of where they are in their relationships. You know how Walt feels about his mother. You know how Frank feels about his dad, and they get into them. Each scene builds on one another to give you a glimpse, all right? Not a picture. It's not saying, hey, isn't this the right way? But it tells you this family feels like that. Man, I'm telling you, the writing is superb in my opinion.
One of the things I thought was really authentic, more so to the time period than even the Burger King glassware, was how much time. Oh yeah, we had a lot of McDonald's personally, but every house had fast food glassware. But to me, the most true thing about the era is the amount of time that these kids clearly spend alone. For me and for a lot of people I know and talk to, even from families that weren't divorced families, like something about the era, like kids were just left alone a lot. And there's like a reference in this movie where Joan says that Bernard left Frank alone for like 3 fucking days, and he's like 10 years old or some shit.
Yep.
And like, I buy it. I mean, my parents never left me for 3 days, but still, like, I spent a lot of time alone, too much time alone, and most people I know did. And I thought that was very true, but also it made me uncomfortable in some ways. Just like, it, brought me, remind me of shit I don't really spend a lot of time thinking about for good reason.
Yeah, one time
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Mike. I just had a follow-up for what Travis said just about the loneliness.
Well, follow that up, then I'll say it. Go ahead.
It's real quick. Just there's a very, I mean, it's like a heartbreaking, and I think they knew it was heartbreaking, so they only did it for a couple seconds. But when they first get into the filet of the neighborhood, into Jeff Daniels' home, and Frank is presented with a lefty desk.
Yep.
Because and
Dad doesn't know him at all.
Yeah, well, that and him just sitting alone on it with his head down for a second. They just showed him like, oh man, it was too much for me. It was like too much.
Loved it, dude. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah, that shot seems thrown in there. It's only like 3 seconds. Like, oh, here's a quick shot because it's after.
Anything.
One turtle would have made a difference when they're beating each other with that was so reminiscent too. 2 brothers beating each other with boxing gloves. They have nothing else to do in this house because there's nothing there.
Yeah.
And then they just end up beating on each other and arguing and hurting each other.
Well,
so
dude,
typical.
Mike,
but then they're both defending the other parents.
Mike,
I'm thinking to myself. Yeah, my bad.
No, go ahead. It doesn't matter. It was a personal
Well,
story.
I'm
The
thinking
point
to
is, yes,
myself,
everyone's alone.
Like, I cannot imagine having this like uber literate and intellectually domineering father, and this pressure and this expectation on my own intelligence, and whether or not that would absolutely like I don't, I'm not sure about like your guys' upbringing, but like the stuff that they're saying about how the parents treat their kids, we haven't seen this in a lot of films, period. Especially a lot of divorce films. Kramer versus Kramer. Fucking big divorce film is like Mrs. Doubtfire, which I love, but like no one has the balls to talk about what really happens when these kids are expected to have people that they rely on and maybe even try to become separate.
Yeah. They emulate, yeah. Walt clearly emulates his father for the time being. She's like, even says it. Laura Linney's character Joan says, "You sound just like your father. You're being a shit, Walt." She starts yelling at him like it's a fucking ex-husband.
Okay, so I'm sorry, Mike, but is it insightful? And is it giving you what a movie should do? Is be like, hey, think about it this way, or is it just a facsimile of your possibly own life, which makes it possibly unentertaining?
I don't know.
You can be truthful.
Does it have to be one or the other?
And entertaining.
No, I don't think it does. Yeah.
I guess not.
I don't think it does.
That might be the question.
But this is not an autobiographical tale. We should make that clear too. And a lot of people think it is.
Right? Semi-autobiographical.
It's some things in it, but it's very much. He literally said his own parents saw this movie, and his own father rooted for Walt to leave the hospital room at the end. That's a quote from Baumbach. So, so there's some truth in here, but it's not a literal translation by any type of stretch.
So what's the point?
What
is it telling its audience? Why do we watch this? What do we get from it?
What do you mean? What's the point? What's the point of any piece of art? It's subjective. What are these questions?
He shared a piece of it's certainly some personal stuff, yes, but it's not like shot for shot, like, oh, this happened and this happened. But Jeff Daniels does wear his father's clothes in this. That's a fact, which is cool. I love. We haven't mentioned this. You mentioned with the glass, the fast food glass. But this does a really good job of transporting me. I think that's one of the reasons I like this movie too, is that growing up and born in 1980, living as a child in the 80s, it's so 80s to me. This movie seems...
Mike, why is it I'm sorry, but why is it a period piece? Just so Noah Baumbach can be like, hey, it's about me.
No, because that's when he grew up and he wanted to go back to the 80s. I guess I don't know the exact reason why. But
it's not about his own life. Why is this a period piece?
No. It's not word for word.
Versus how familiar relationships are supposed to be in 2005.
It's not word for word detailing of his own life. It's a mirage mixed in with some truth, and then some stuff to spice it up. It's not just one literal offering of what happened to him. Yes, he lived in Park Slope in Brooklyn in the 80s. That's true. And he had parents that got divorced. That's true. But we don't necessarily know that his brother did wipe cum all over the place. We don't know if that is true.
Other than
Why
that,
is it a period piece?
Other than why? What is this question? Why does it matter if it's a period
It's a
piece?
the prop master that had to find that Burger King cup is going to be like, why is this in the 80s? So this guy can tell his life story?
Yeah.
I guess so.
Yes.
I think it's pretty relevant.
How much do you think
He's
the
the
average
director?
viewer, how much do you think the average viewer picks up on some of those, like some of that though? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
I agree. I didn't find it super immersive at all.
I didn't really
did.
either. I didn't think like super. I mean, I clearly knew it wasn't like in the 2000s, but I mean, I didn't think of it as like super 80s necessarily. Or
Could it
anything.
be a better
Yeah.
film if you're going to tell it with the things that kids have to deal with nowadays when it comes to the divorce of a family?
I think the stuff. I think the stuff. I think the stuff it's saying is pretty universal about divorce. I mean,
Yeah.
Mhm.
No. This is the only movie you'll ever see a Pink Floyd song in. I can never think of any movie ever where Pink Floyd has licensed their music. I would love to hear the story behind that. Seriously,
Really?
Is there? I mean,
what
I
about
don't know.
The Departed and Comfortably Numb?
yeah, but that was a
Oh,
cover.
that's a
you know?
cover. It's a cover.
Oh,
though.
that is the Van Morrison covering it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is
But
really
you're
funny
right.
because Baumbach apparently wanted the rights to Behind Blue Eyes by the Who,
Oh, and the Who totally sold out.
That
That's
makes
the whole-
sense
yeah.
too.
and the
That
Who
would make
didn't.
sense,
The Who wouldn't give him the rights, so that he got the rights to fucking Pink Floyd instead.
That's really
this
funny.
brings
They
up an
changed their mind
interesting
like a year
point.
later.
It's funny.
This brings up an interesting point that my sister and I have always talked about. Like, what the hell is this about? Why does nobody know "Hey You" by Pink Floyd in this movie?
But they do.
The parents
Well, by
don't,
the
or at
parents
least
don't.
they don't want to
But-
because they're clueless. But everyone
But
else
this
knows.
this is a song that has been. I mean, at the point. I don't know. I don't know what year that's actually supposed to be, but that came out in 1980.
it's supposed to be like
86.
85. Yeah. Yeah.
86.
that
Mid
song
80s.
has been-
Mid 80s.
A single on the radio.
Yeah, they know, but what are you going to do? Be like, hey, kid, I watched you. I don't know you, but like you plagiarized that shit.
Well, that
point
is
is,
what
about that.
Like the thing that matters is why does Walt pick it?
I think he wants to be caught. I think he wants to be
Really?
called out. Yeah, I think he wants to be called out on his shit. I think he knows he hasn't read the fucking books he's always preaching about, and I think that he also thinks that people. I think it's two things. I think he kind of wants to be caught, and also like his father, he thinks people are stupid and they're gonna like they're gonna just believe him. So I think that he feels like either way it's a win. They're either gonna be impressed, or like maybe they call me out on my shit.
Well,
So
if we
I
take
think-
him at his word, he literally says in the movie that he thought he could have wrote it, so it's good enough.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I
it's
think
terrible.
because he knows that his father won't know what it is and consider it minor rock, he selects it for two reasons. Because of that reason, and because he is trying to fucking say something artistically, as artists do. They try to speak some sort of truth from within themselves. He's not capable of that. He is a Philistine. So he says, I'm going to try to impress my family by saying something about something that I believe in, which is united we stand, divided we fall. He sees what's going on between his parents. So he's trying to make a statement about his parents' relationship.
Hey, you guys ever see that movie, The Mother and the Whore?
No, I didn't. I never did. I saw the poster on the wall though. And,
Is that a subtle move? Putting the mother in the whore poster. on the wall?
Okay. All right.
I know.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
I do know that Eli Nastasi was an asshole, though. That is true as a tennis player. A lot of tennis references in this movie that are quite legit, but not everybody would get that. It doesn't matter. But is this the worst fatherly advice ever? When Walt's asking Bernard about, hey, what do you think of Sophie? And what do you think I should do with Sophie? It's some of the
my God.
worst advice. You should play the field. I wish I had slept with other women.
He tells her to fuck her, then break up with her. Really, is what
at
he
least
tells
sleep
her.
with her once before, try it out, see if you like it.
So cruel. And this guy
Walt's
is
too
just,
young. Yeah, Walt's too young for that kind of advice. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
why would he? I mean,
Well,
he didn't
and
even.
bad advice.
He's a virgin. Like, you know.
And technically AIDS existed this time. I'm just throwing that out there. I know it doesn't matter, but I don't know. It's just really fucking bad advice. It's god awful. It's some of the worst advice in some Hall of Fame bad advice from parents in this movie.
Yeah, but again, they both just like have no boundaries. They have fucking zero boundaries.
No.
They need more people in their life to talk to, seriously. And so but their kids are around, so they overshare with their children instead. And to the kids' detriment, like it changes both of them to learn this information about their parents and that they, don't need to know, and not at that age.
Yeah.
Yep, that's true. Boy, so much to cover here. Anything else?
I gotta ask you guys. Well, I want to ask you guys this because the other day when we were mentioning this on Twitter, a couple people commented about this, and it made me want to dive even deeper into it because I never really did, honestly. But the soundtrack of this movie, I went through and checked out everything that's played in it actually last night, and I have like a really huge appreciation for some of the tracks that they chose in this, and I'll get to the Lou Reed song at the end in a minute because I think that is
4 times 8 is 32.
not that one.
Not that one.
Oh, not that one. Okay.
But and I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Bert Janch or Jench is a lot of the music that's played. There's like 3 or 4 songs by this guy, but there's a song called The Courting Blues that I would recommend checking out. They play it towards the beginning, and it's just him and an acoustic guitar, and it's real hollow and just.
Oh, is that the picking? Yeah, is that the picking guitar line? Because that's beautiful. I really like that. It's kind of.
It's towards the beginning. It's during a montage.
Yeah.
You guys, clearly the musical highlight of this film is the little girl singing Curie by Mr. Mister. I mean, come on.
I always mix that up with Napoleon Dynamite. For some reason, I think of Napoleon Dynamite when I see that every time I hear it.
Is that
just because there's a talent
scene?
show in both movies? So.
Like, why is that even in there? It's just
clearly he has the money.
No musical accompaniment.
The film was shot in under a month, and he probably had like millions of dollars to be able to spend on the soundtrack. I think it's a choice.
No, that's not true at all. They made this movie on $1.5 million. That's the budget.
Wow. They probably
23-day shoot. Yeah.
There must have been some real cheap salaries then from some because there's some pretty big actors here that could have demanded a decent salary, but a lot of these songs would not have been cheap.
Yeah, this is a Sundance movie too, so they probably okay, we're doing one of those things, and Jeff Daniels was doing more indie stuff by this time too, so that makes sense. But it was very tightly, reading about this movie and hearing what Baumbach has to say, it was very simple. 23-day shoot, and they tried to keep it. They got a lot of favors. Like the brownstone that's used as the main family house was in an old neighborhood of his from a family friend that he knew as a kid. So he tried to mix some authentic stuff from his life, which I appreciate. But the music, as you said, Brian, I completely agree. It's kind of underrated. Like nobody ever really mentions, hey, I really like that Squid and the Whale soundtrack. But I really enjoy almost everything that's used for any type of musical direction in this film.
I think the timing of the Lou Reed song at the end is perfect because like it's right whenever Walt starts running pretty much, and just like the violin at the beginning of that song. It's called what can't I think of the name of that? Street Hassle. It's like 11 minutes long and very weird. And believe it or not, Bruce Springsteen has a spoken word section on the track.
Huh.
I recommend checking it out. It's weird as hell if you've ever listened to Lou Reed, obviously.
It's a good song. It feels very Wes Anderson-y, but it is a good song.
Yeah. It's
it's produced by Wes. It had some vibes for sure. He had some input on that soundtrack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does $15 for parking in 1986 seem excessive? I know Walt's a Bernard's a cheapskate, but holy shit, $15 for parking in 1986? I'd be pissed too.
Yeah.
That's the only time you're like, okay, I agree with this guy. He also fired his agent because he said something disparaging about the Knicks at a party.
Oh my gosh. What a
New York Knicks.
Actually, the lowest moment is probably Walt opening the door to him manhandling Lily, saying, "Put me in your mouth."
And then he turns around and says, "Hey, we'll hang out. I'll be right down."
Dude, and even weirder than that, this is a more subtle one, but whenever Walt is in there with that chick and they're kind of connecting a little bit, he busts her nose, she goes in to take a bath, and then Walt and Bernard pass each other in the hallway.
Yes.
Awkward. Hey, and then he taps on the door to go in. Oh my God.
That is so fucked up. And I really like that scene though. That is I don't know what other people think of it, but the fact that he smacks her in the head like that accidentally, that is so teenage awkward. I could totally buy that. I'm like, this, because she's like, well, she's supposed to be like 20, right? She's post high school, and this guy he shouldn't be in there. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's just staring at her thigh, and then he fucks up her nose. I felt so bad for the kid.
Then he doesn't help her at all. She just goes to the bathroom on her own, and he just stays in the other room.
He also steals that paper. Remember when he says, "Oh, we're supposed to use the paper towels only for certain things," and when she puts it in the wastebasket, he takes it out of the plastic bag and sticks it in his pocket.
That was really one of those moments I just couldn't laugh at. I just couldn't.
No, it wasn't funny. You're right.
I was just going to ask you, Travis. I'm like, so that's one of those moments that like some people think is funny, but I was going to say, is that one of those type of things that you see the other way because of that?
Oh yeah, that hit way too.
I agree with Travis there. Yeah, because like living at my dad, there's when you're living in a divorced household with two different worlds like that. See, that's why I understand what you're saying, Travis. A lot of that. I had one set of rules in one house and a completely set of rules in the other house. And at my dad's house, you're walking on eggshells. When at my mom's house, it was a free for all where you would be left alone a lot.
Right, which was a similar experience, but at least my parents had the good sense to have me spend 1 week, like the way we did it. Like we spent 8 months with my mom, and then we would spend every other weekend at my dad's house during that time, and then 4 months with my dad, and every other weekend with my mom during that time. So we didn't see as much of them. So we did, which was kind of a weird arrangement, but
that is very unusual.
But I cannot begin to imagine going back and forth every fucking day like these two did. Like, what chaos like that. You would never feel settled. You'd never feel like you were at home. You'd always be in transport.
That is also unusual.
Chaotic
I
and
think
awful.
Yours and the movies are both very extreme, unusual ones that I haven't heard of. I mean, to me, the common was the every other weekend thing, or at least every weekend. That was kind of the thing I was most common to me growing up. But, in New York, I don't know. It's a different world. They live in the other side of the park. It's not like my dad lived an hour away from my mom. It was an hour drive each way, each time. And I always heard about the bitching about this drive, an hour each way every time, because we lived in Heartland. My dad lived in Detroit. It was, I can see him now in that fucking Mercury Cougar in 1992, just pissed while I'm kicking the back of his seat. Knock it off. So pissed.
Yeah, I got to imagine, too, the logistics of that being in New York and everything and going back and forth constantly. I mean, that's got to be a complete nightmare.
But these people aren't poor either, so I don't feel like they don't look like they're struggling in real life at all either. Yeah, I mean, if that's one sense where, like, Bernard's bitching about money, like, chill out, dude. If you had a super nice brownstone and you're still able to afford another place, although it looks like shit on inside, it is very spacious. So
it is a house in New York.
Yeah, right in the city. So
let me ask you guys this. I made some notes last night, and a couple things that random things I wrote down. So we've talked a lot about the Frank weirdnesses as the movie has gone on.
The cashew.
There's very many, obviously. What is so he's very frequently in the mirror. What is the one where he's going, "No, Frank, no"? Do you remember that? Like he's looking in the mirror. What is that? I don't know what's going on there.
It's just.
I think that a lot of what's going on with all of those scenes is like he's discovering his sexuality, and it's completely an isolated thing. There's no one to talk to about it. There's no one to explain anything to him about it. And I think that he is like flirting with manhood with like the beers and stuff. And I think, and a lot of that I think is about him like becoming like comfortable with his body, but like the whole, like, I mean, that to me, Frank, that weird detachment, like, is that some sort of sexual fantasy happening there?
He's also drinking beer. He's being easily impacted by a single beer at 12 years old. Who knows? He's like, who knows what's going on in there?
Yeah, I think it's pretty obvious that they're showing someone who's probably a little younger than we were when we started to do this sort of stuff, maybe 10, 11.
Nope.
I was literally 12 the first time I had a drink.
I was 12. Yeah.
That's why I said 10 or 11. But anyway, someone that's probably 9, 10,
Frank's
or 11.
Frank's 12.
That's why I said 9, 10, or 11. Anyway, that is doing this stuff because they have no one to turn to, And it's in my opinion, it's exemplifying the fact that the family is not there for them to talk to them.
Yeah.
So we need to see that he has no father, no mother, and no younger brother that he has to tell him, hey, this is what's going on with sex. And that's why those scenes are so heartbreaking to me. And God bless Noah Baumbach for not making them funny, but making them sincere. We all did a lot of weird shit. Christ. Well, I'm definitely not getting into it. But I love all those parts. I think it's pretty clear and obvious that everything I just said. Anyway.
What else, Brian? What else on the notepad there?
Just another thing I had. This is let me see here. This is a little bit more just something I wanted to share too. And Eric, Eric, do you just have the baby or do you have any other kids?
It's just a baby. I'm trying my best, but she's like crawling around. She's crying.
Oh, no, it's not about that.
I'm still thinking about the whale.
Everything's fine. So.
And yet,
I'm a little pissed, but no.
Don't say that. Oh, no.
Doing my best.
No, I'll mess with you. But like, no, something so you may not have experienced this yet, but I can tell you now. Like my son is about to be 3, and at that point, obviously, they're understanding stuff. We go on adventures together. We do all kinds of cool stuff. And I just keep going back to that the moment at the end where Walt's really kind of coming to, and he's in that therapy session, and they're discussing his mom and stuff like that. And he mentions how his mother used to like recount what they did that day. Like they go to the museum and they would do this, and then they would talk about everything, or like she'd tell him a bedtime story, but she'd describe the Squid and the Whale in a way that it wasn't as scary and stuff. With my son, when I put him to bed, every night, especially on weekends, whenever we go out and have a great adventure, whether it's, I just took him to like an alpaca farm last weekend and we're feeding alpacas together. And, there's going to be all kinds of like fall Halloween stuff and everything this month, but like just putting him to bed. And I like to tell him a story, and I'll talk about our day with him. Like, hey, what did we do today? And he'll tell me and everything. And then I tell him a story and I was like, did you like that story? And he'll always be like, yeah. And I'm like, what was it about? He'll just go, I don't know, even though he just listen to it, everything. But man, I'm telling you, like, I do think as shitty as Lori Linney does kind of become, as the kids grow older and stuff like that, that is a big thing. And like, that's something that I just naturally, like, as a father, try to give my son. And I think it's so important to like create these little journals in their mind, or these little reels, of like, there's something about when you're just with your kid, like just you and your kid, maybe not even the other parent, like me being able to bond with him and share an experience all day long that, we'll remember forever, and then just recounting it later. I just thought it was like beautiful how he talked about that, because it reminded me so much of me and my son right now. So yeah, just something I caught there that was really authentic.
That's a beautiful point. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah. He said, though, that they were pals. They used to be pals, and he really missed that. That was very clear to him. But also, going into that, he's like, Bernard says, this is funny to me. Yeah, he'll probably have like a BA in psychology. And then he really comes to him. Oh, I went to Yale. I have a master's.
He's an MA. Ken Lin.
Minor Fitzgerald.
Yeah, Walt tries to be his father for a second with that psychologist. Like, so you don't have a PhD? He's like, no, I have a master's, Walt. And then after that, the guard slowly lets down. So that's funny in that exchange. But you're right. That's really beautiful.
But that's one of my problems. Like, if you're gonna try to educate your going on this road, might as well. If you're gonna get wet, you might as well go swimming. If you're gonna educate yourself on someone like F. Scott Fitzgerald, don't say, hey, read The Great Gatsby. Teach them to understand why it's important. We have Walt, who just knows Fitzgerald's name, and he understands that Kafka is like something that's a genre. Oh, it's Kafka-esque. But he doesn't understand what this means. So, like, the weird thing.
Do you have a weak handshake? Maybe it's because he has a weak handshake.
or maybe it's because the guy's hands are too big, which he says. Like, you got to be careful about. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Well, you really want to do it, don't you? What an asshole. God, I feel bad for him. His own father just turned him into an asshole at such a young age.
Sophie was a great girl too. Like, was Sophie not very? I felt so bad for her. She was, maybe she was a little wee bit plain, but she seemed like a cool girl. I think she would have really been.
I don't even think she's plain. She's like a redhead. She looks like his mother. She's cute, and he. All right. But like, he pops off early. She's totally fucking cool about it, and he's asking about Nelson Barton. Like, what the fuck?
Shut up, dude.
I mean, just every step of the way, he's just undermining her, and like she's being cool, and he is being a fucking prick. And thank God for her, she finally is like, "I'm out. This is bullshit."
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Alexandra Daddario, did you guys catch her real quick in the background there after the Hey You performance?
I would have remembered that. I absolutely
a very young Alexandra Daddario. I'm pretty sure it's her. She walks by and Walt gives a glance to each other after the Hey You performance.
Yeah, I saw that. Who's Alexandra Daddario? I don't know who that is.
Beautiful blue eyes. Gorgeous.
She was legendary for her. Singer? She was in scene one. She was in series 1, scene 1, season 1 of the True Detective show. She played Willie Harrelson's mistress.
The mistress from that. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. She's a very
she looks
very talented
down. Yeah,
gorgeous woman. Yes, no doubt about it. But that's not. I just noticed her in the background there, and then I also noticed how, Joan does a really good job of trying to tell Walt. Like, she actually tries there. It's one of the best efforts on the parents, which is not a lot, but she's
come on,
like, I know you. Yeah, I know you hate me now, or you think you hate me now, but you don't. And then, unfortunately, she hits him, which kind of ruins that moment.
Yeah. It goes a little south. Yeah.
She's. I mean, like, I'm going to state the obvious here, but good fucking God, Laura Linney, such a natural, believable actor. I mean, she's just, everything she does is so effortless, man. It's just like you buy it, everything she does.
Her and Daniels are so stellar in this. Yeah, absolutely.
But why doesn't she get like the final scene or like a good scene that could tell us something about the Walt and her relationship? Why is
we already covered this. You said you were cool with it. You love the ending.
Also, why doesn't someone with a PhD in literature know how to spell or know how to pronounce Knopf Publishing? What's up with that? Knopf is going to put it out. I'm like, you know better than that.
You're way off base, Travis. You're way
off base.
Yeah,
I'm being difficult,
man.
Holy crap. I mean, we are running a longest episode maybe ever here. We probably should get to the end of it. Last chance, Brian. Was there anything else we didn't cover before we close this out, Brian? Last
man, I think we hit it all. I definitely get where somebody like Travis is coming from with like not finding the humor in it, and frankly finding it to be too difficult of a watch, because sometimes it even is for me. Like we all said, I mean, it's an 81-minute film, but it feels double that to me. So okay. I love it. I think it'll forever hold a special place in my heart. I think it's like super authentic and short, sweet, and to the point, and just gets I feel like I know every character fairly damn well by the end of the movie, and it's real, and that's really what I look for. So that's why I love the movie.
So it holds up.
To me, it holds up.
Okay, there it is. Brian leads us off. Travis, let's go over to you next, because I'm not really sure where you come out on this. I'd be curious.
I like that there are finally moments where Walt opens up enough to his mother where he lets him parent her a little bit. And he says, like, we're talking about the relationship that he's ended with Sophie and how he's upset about it. He's like, I don't see myself like this. And she's like, well, this is how it is. I thought that was a powerful moment. And I think that the movie is chock full of powerful moments like this. I mean, it's a very true film. No one could argue that there's not, this film smacks of authenticity. I don't know that it's the best period piece by any stretch, but it does smack as, it does. I mean, it doesn't feel like that to me. But as far as the authenticity of the story being told, absolutely. It's an incredibly raw look at a rare thing shown on film, but extremely common in everyday life. Children dealing with divorce. That all being said, I would put this in the Memento class. This is something that everyone should watch, but once you've seen it, I don't think you need to go back. When this was announced last week, I was like, oh fuck. And I went to go sit down last night to watch it. I was like, oh fuck. I was not thrilled, and my feelings were pretty much confirmed. Like, it just felt it's hard. I think it's a hard watch. I don't get enjoyment from it. I don't think every film should be watched for enjoyment. But if you've seen this before and it emotionally resonated with you, I don't know that you're going to get a ton more from going back and watch it again. So I'm going to say it doesn't hold up.
Okay, then. All right. Well, I'll go next. This is a film, and you know that already. By the way, in the same
penetrating insight.
Yeah.
The same scene that you just mentioned, Travis, where this is how it is. She also starts to go off on, making love in the stock room at the bookstore.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Well, it's like, I don't want to hear about this. Mom, you have a really, really bad habit of saying things in a way that people don't want to hear them. And she's like, I know. And she admits that. I don't know if, Bernard would ever admit anything like that.
Yeah, never.
So, but it's not about comparing the characters to, we can do that. But for me, it's just about going into this realm. And since it's so quick, I think it's an easy watch for people who might not be triggered by some of the stuff in this film. And, I could be easily triggered by it. I think about how these people lived and how I lived my own life. And I would be lying if I said it wasn't very much a part of my own experience was wrapped up in this film. So, but that's what you do with film. You get attracted to stuff that you connect with for whatever reason it is, whether it reminds you of your own life or if it reminds you even of an experience you had once. You watch 127 hours because you went hiking once. I don't know. It's just,
random.
People do. So I would say the movie holds up because I see it from a perspective of fallible human beings doing fallible things. And we all know a comedy at its base is, you're laughing while other people are uncomfortable or going through something that isn't enjoyable. So there is comedic elements in this film that still laughed at last night. And I think it's something that if you watch it and you don't get it, you should ask some of the people in your life, like, hey, if they got it or they liked it, why is that? And you might learn a lot. So I think it's a good jumping off point to learn about people in your life or other experiences that people have. But at the same time, I could see why some people be like, why would I want to sit down and go through this? This is just torture. I do get that. But for me, it holds up.
All right. And it sounds like Eric is back just in time to tell us what he thinks. Eric, do you think the film holds up?
What did Mike say again? Mike loves this film, man. There's no question about it. I haven't watched this in 16 years. I look at it now. Yes, it'd be easy to dismiss this as like an esoteric thing about whether you have a divorced family or not. You may not like it. I look at what the filmmaker is trying to say. Noah Baumbach is saying, this is what I may, regardless of whether it's not his own story or not, he's saying, this is a family. Did I do my job in what I tried to achieve and make it interesting and engaging? Did I do justice to my characters? Absolutely. This is one of the best scripts I've seen in the 20 in this, what do we call this new century?
No. I think it's the 21st.
21st century?
This is the 21st century.
COVID-19.
Yeah, no shit, Brian. I'm sorry. In my opinion, this is one of the best scripts of the 21st century because it's clipped. It's so purposeful, and it's so fucking honest. It just does so many things that movies before it didn't do. In Kramer versus Kramer, or other movies that handled divorce, they did it in such a Hollywood bullshit way. They didn't offer anything to children that were suffering from divorce. So if you can watch this as a kid and get something from it, meaning you're not alone, like this happens, and do it in a way that's fun, insightful, or in any type of way, it absolutely holds up, man. I give it a huge recommendation. I think it's one of the best movies so far of the 21st century, period.
Wow, holy shit. Well, now we're in Travis, by the way, it's fun. He said it was fun.
He said it was a fun flick. Yeah, fun film.
Yeah, like Joe Dirt.
Yeah,
I laughed
like
at
Joe
that,
Dirt.
too.
Yeah, like Joe Dirt. And we'll say this. We did cover it, I guess, ever so briefly. But yes, we've had some movies where we've literally said, wow, we need to cut a half hour to this movie. There's none of that. Purposeful, you're right. Every scene just boom, boom, boom.
What about that rumored 3.5 hour cut of this? Would you guys be down for that?
Oh wow, I haven't heard.
I'm
about
totally
that.
fucking kidding. That doesn't sound like
I don't think even I would be down for that. No.
3.5
would too.
hours of
I'm a
this
sick
family?
fuck, so I'm a sick fuck. What can I tell you? I like shit like that. So, well, Brian, you should be proud of yourself. You brought to the forefront a lot of fascinating conversation. So, kudos to you and being definitely one of the best guests we've had so far. You should take pride in that, and I'm glad you chose this movie because
thank you very much.
I've always wanted to talk about it in this realm. So, thank you.
You don't say.
I appreciate you guys having me on, and yeah, I think it, evident as we all went into discussions kind of about our own families and stuff like that. I mean, it lends itself to a bigger conversation about what it is all about. It's not just the movie. So I think there's just so many. I mean, we even talked about like current day social dynamics, like as a result of this movie and stuff, and relationships and stuff. So, again, really appreciate you guys having me on, and I'm glad we got to talk about it. It was a great conversation.
That's a good point. Yeah, kudos
Thank
to
you,
you, sir.
Brian.
Thank you so much. Follow Brian on Twitter. Follow Brian everywhere
Absolutely.
at Brian J. Seymour. Don't forget What This Means to Me is a great podcast, and he does other work in fantasy baseball. If you're into that, you can
Awesome
find him.
podcast.
Yeah, he'll help you out. So we're moving over to Eric Branstrom. Is that correct?
Yeah, but
Or
before we do, Eric's next. But real quick, before Eric tells us what his choice is for next week, a reminder, or I guess actually an announcement to anyone that's listening. We're going to do listener's choice again in a couple of weeks. The next week will be Eric's choice. And then the following week will be Mike's choice. But on the 15th of October, if you're listening in real time, just get in touch with us through email us or whatever website, whatever social media, and everybody gets one choice. Any choice you want, just send it on to us. We're going to pick on the 15th, the episode of the 15th. The episode of the 15th or the 14th rather. We are going to pick whatever our listeners' choice is going to be. So we'll take all of the options that everyone sends us. Hopefully we get a lot of suggestions, and we'll put them all together and we'll randomize it and we'll choose it live on the 14th. So just email us or message us between now and the 14th with your choice.
I just realized I'm going to be in Arizona, so I just realized that now. So I'm not going to be available for that one. So you guys might have to sub me in. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll pick up maybe a guest host after all.
The week of the 15th. I'll be in Arizona the 13th through 17th, or 18th. So.
All right. Well, never mind.
We'll talk about that later. I just realized that though. So
okay.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. That's gonna be awesome though. We love listener's choice. Share it. It's also October, so I wouldn't be surprised to see some people put in some horror choices, and I'm sure. Hell, I don't know if Eric's going to do it right now because our next episode's in October.
One month of the year. Come on, man. You got to give it up. Dude,
all right, Eric, give it to us.
Tomorrow is October 1st, man. I got my apple cinnamon and pumpkin candles. They're lit right now. My whole house smells like fucking Halloween. I love it so much. And
You're so basic.
No, I'm not basic. Excuse me, Brian, but I'm not basic. We are getting down to the nitty gritty, man. My fog machine's even on. I don't even know how the fuck I'm paying for this fog, but
where is your baby? She's lost in the fog.
I have no idea. But my fog machine is turned on, and we're next week. Excuse me, but
you're excused.
I don't know if I'm not gonna say we're going to horror, but we're definitely going to psychological horror. Before Hereditary and before all this grief horror shit, we had one of the all-time greatest psychological horror films that's ever been made. And I haven't seen the goddamn thing in 25 years, at least. So it's time to look back at 1990. Man, Adrian Lynn is a filmmaker we haven't talked a lot about, dude. Wow. 9.5 weeks is seriously fucking good. And if you haven't seen this film, it's time to take another look, man, because there's so many levels there, man. It's so complex. Jacob's Ladder from 1990, dude.
Wow.
That's it.
All right. Not doing that remake. I'm never going to watch that remake, I don't think. But I'm excited.
We're going to completely assume that never even happened. But the original, Christ on crutches.
All right. Interesting choice.
I second the Christ on crutches, yeah.
You seen that movie, Brian?
Yeah. Oh, yes. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
Okay. I've never seen it. So
it's like getting mind fucked by the film Altered States. Like it's just if that was fucking your brain, that's Jacob's Ladder.
Yeah, I don't let people talk about it, man, but whoa.
I've heard the title, and I've heard the title a billion times. I just never seen it. So cool, yeah. Well, I'm kind of interested
Robbins.
to see this one. So, Tim Robbins. I thought we were going with the Candyman there for a minute. So,
Come on, dude. Come on.
oh, okay.
Well, it's a classic.
Yeah, it is a classic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't matter. That's not what this show's about. We're done. Brian, I love you, man. I really like to have you on the show. Brian's a really cool guy.
So
He's
Thanks,
an
Brian.
authentic,
Awesome.
Love you guys. Appreciate
human
it.
being. So, Brian Seymour, thank you for being with us. We'll catch you guys next week on the Cinema 9 podcast.
Suck my dick, ass man.